Today we're talking about the DJI Osmo Action. I have thoughts about this camera now. I've been using it for quite a while. Today we're going with Arby's roast beef sandwiches, root beer float. Gotta have the Arby's sauce. There's little seeds everywhere. A lot of my videos lately have been using this as the background camera. So basically the camera that films me taking photos, doing the vlogging type stuff. I've been using this. I do have the latest firmware, and I think there have been a lot of improvements on this camera since it was initially released. So if you only looked at it back then, you're probably missing out on some of really good improvements. I don't know the specifics, but in general, it's very stable. I haven't had any issues with it giving me corrupt files or anything like that. A big positive of action cameras and the DJI, of course, is the size of it. This small compact size is great. You can easily put it on a tripod, and the tripod doesn't have to be some big impressive thing. I use my Manfrotto compact light tripod with this a lot, and it's a really nice size for it. Just good combination. So when I'm carrying a camera, I'm carrying a bag, backpack, plus this is my filming camera. It's just nice to have smaller stuff. Of course, it does have the weather resistance. I bought a cage for this, and I actually bought a replacement just in case once this goes out of production, I want at least one extra front lens, because you can always drop it. I actually did drop this once already, but I had the cage on there, so this didn't see any damage at all. When I bought this camera, I got it with their extra 2 batteries plus the charger. If I didn't have that, this would be a lot more of a hassle for me, but having those 2 extra batteries and the charger means I can get them topped up. I bring a battery inside the camera plus an extra, and I usually do end up using the second battery, at least a little bit of it. Audio quality is not amazing with this camera. You can get decent stuff out of it, more of an ambient type feel to it. Just wasn't the focus, I guess, for this lens. You want some other type of audio, so in my case I use a lapel microphone and a recorder, which I have a newer one right here, the Olympus LSP4 that I'm trying out. But in general, I tried to use external audio. I don't trust the audio from this. These cameras do have small sensors. I think it's 1/2.3 inches, which is basically a small digicam or really large for phones. Image quality on this camera is not amazing, but I think it is definitely good enough for a lot of situations. What I do with this camera, I use it in 2.7K most of the time, which 4K on a small sensor like this, 1/2.3 inch, I don't think it's really worth it. You will see some sharpness improvements, but I don't think it's a lot. It's just kind of past the point of all of that data storage that you need to do with the 4K versus even 2.7 or 1080p. I could probably use this in 1080p, but what I generally do with this camera and the background stuff is that I jump in quite a bit with the 2.7K because I render at 1080p. And that's been really nice having that extra resolution. Even if it's not amazing resolution, it's still there. Of course, one of the biggest things with an action camera is stabilization these days. And this one is very nice. I haven't had any issues with stabilization, and getting that vlog style video helps out a lot with the flow of my videos because I can just hold it towards me and it's good enough. It doesn't have any focusing ability, so you don't want to have it too close to you, otherwise it'll be blurred out. Holding it at arm's length, for me at least, especially on a tripod, it's definitely far enough away that it looks good. Not really sure how close I can get without it looking super blurry. Try that out real quick. Just in general, this works very nicely for that vlog style stuff, especially with the lapel microphone that I can use to get good audio out of it. Everything is not perfect with this camera. The main issue that I do have, and hopefully they'll improve it in firmware, but I kind of doubt it at this point, is that I record for long periods of time when I'm out doing the photography videos, and this is just running. I don't need to really turn it off, turn it on. It just adds extra hassle, and actually that's a nice benefit just to have this thing running, even though the files do get pretty large. This splits the video files up into 4 GB chunks. Now that would be fine if they were perfectly in sync between the pieces, and I have to resync every single 4 GB chunk to the large audio file, split it up, and at those split points I might have lost a little bit, so hopefully I wasn't talking between point A and point B, you know, the first 4GB chunk and the second 4GB chunk, or the third one. The interface is easy to use. You just swipe up, swipe down, swipe left, right. You do have manual settings, but I personally have not used them. Just use the automatic with either the DCine-like or the normal. When I'm outside doing photography stuff, I use normal, but when I'm, say, in here with the bright lights in the background, I might use the DCine-like profile to get a little bit more dynamic range. I did look at the GoPro a lot before going with this one. The main reason was price, the front screen, and just price. So with this versus the GoPro 8 and even the 7 that I could find, this was significantly cheaper with that extra 2 batteries plus the charger. I do have a few cheap action cameras and they are not comparable to something like this. If you want a decent camera with stabilization that really works, this is the type of thing you need to get. They're okay with stationary shots. That was kind of a training wheels type of thing with those cheap ones to see if it would work for what I'm doing. And it did well enough that I really wanted to go up a step, and that was this DJI. I do think it was worth it. I'm going to be looking at action cameras a lot more in the future. Another few things that I do find really irritating about the DJI Osmo Action, forgot to mention, so we'll do it vlog style. The first one, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all the wireless connectivity. You can't technically disable it in the camera, so I'm going to assume here that it's wasting power trying to find connections occasionally, at least. It's super irritating. They need to give us an option to disable that. Another one is when you buy the camera new. As far as I can tell, they forced me to register or basically activate the camera through their Mimo application. It's a smartphone application, which in my opinion is a really stupid thing. Here's a quick test with the action camera and the smartphone selfie camera. See how the stabilization looks between the two. I'm using 2.7K on the DJI and 1080p on the LG smartphone, LG Stylo 3 specifically. Give you an idea how something like a random smartphone would compare to the Osmo Action. It is tough going back to a larger camera for my photography videos because it is so small, because it does have a really rugged nature to it. That's just a nice benefit. I just really wish, I'm going to keep saying it, I wish they could fix that weird syncing issue. So as a look at the DJI Osmo Action for the stuff that I do, works well enough, a lot of situations. Hope you enjoyed this video. Sky Photography Bonsai, thanks. If you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing, sharing, liking, and now that applause feature. Those would all help out a lot if you're interested. Anyways, thanks again.